Alright, let's go see James and finish this. Last floor. Let's watch all the endings. I have no more business left. We're done. Hail Hydra. Oh, hail what? Hail Hydra. He's a traitor. I know he's Hydra, but didn't have to shoot him in the face. You know what happens if you shoot at Hydra in the face? They'll just grow two. You're dumb nerd with glasses. So. Right, so George faked his death so he could get control of this Heimdall. The thing is, the Heimdall is tuned to my biometrics, so I'm the only one who can control it, or my blood. Oh, I can watch the cutscene. Oh, can I keep the... Oh, okay. Ferguson has the Louis voice. Hey, you wanna see something cool? What? Whoa. I can build my wings on the way down. I don't think that's how it works, Caleb. Oh, you cannot talk to the leader. So, George faked his own death so he could get control of this, and he wanted me to get rid of all the bosses, but I didn't. And I failed to get rid of all the bosses because, well, I did get rid of them, but I undid that because apparently you need to leave them alive to get all the endings, and I didn't know that, so I wasted a ton of time coming back to this. But we're finally here. And the leader is just clone or something. Oh wait, let me save right here. Oh, not Caleb. Right, so he's requesting for us to kill him. We'll agree to it first, so you watch the cutscene, but then we'll go back and not do that. The farmer, he load and unload away. Buy load, buy load. Good night, sweet prince. We're gonna play tomorrow. You bet, pal. You bet. To infinity. Jesus Christ. Okay. So there's this thing called the inner circle. Let's refuse to go in this time. And the inner circle is all the bosses we faced so far. And George and my father. And they were kind of looking to control the Heimdall, which is this machine that controls the towers, and the towers control the population. Achuba banaya. Thank you, Mr. Bubble. Alright, so we're gonna go through all, through all the endings. And... But what we're gonna do is take out the music, because here's the thing. And that's why I'm replaying this part, because... the music they use is copyrighted, so I cannot like put it on YouTube. Right, let's give the control of the
A low pulsating hum drawn through the city, filling the air, boring into every mind and bending every single person to its mechanical will. Men and women, adults and children, rich and poor. In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's power. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what was required of them. Luxury, senseless and merciless. Marble statues, palaces of golden toilets for officials, Persian carpets, mountains of jewels and money, full pools filled with champagne and caviar, monstrous orgies. The atmosphere of greed and a rotten system drowning in corruption. People stopped seeing anything wrong in it. The worship of one idol over another caused no kind of conflict. The signal from the relays took care of that. The wise leader was replaced by the luxurious leader, and no one noticed. Ferguson didn't appreciate the gesture. Of course, he gladly took control of the relays, but that didn't change anything for Evan. The boss didn't trust Redgrave, so he got rid of him as soon as he had what he wanted. Evan was accused of conspiring to overthrow the regime and arrested on the spot. The overzealous police officers, already under the influence of Heimdall's signals, beat Evan mercilessly, screaming, "This is for Ferguson!" He was dead before the firing squad even arrived.
This is for Ferguson! And also, like, the biometrics you collect throughout the whole game allow you to select... Well, depending on the amount of biometrics you have, you can select the different endings. And I control the Heimdall, so I can choose whoever I want as the administrator or whatever happens to the Heimdall. Let's give now... The salvo's now the administrator.
A low pulsating hum drawn through the city, filling the air. In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's power. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what...
Yeah.
It's scary when a real psychopath comes to power, and it is a nightmare if his power is limitless. But there are no words to describe the horror when this maniac gains control of your mind. In the hands of the Salvo, Heimdall towers spread across the country, but they didn't just force people to obey. From time to time, they transmitted a single emotion at full capacity: pure horror. Beside themselves with fear, people would increasingly hole up in the deepest crevices they could find, like mice. They had less and less time for anything useful. An atmosphere of impending doom, bordering on panic, reigned in the country for a long time. De Salvo didn't appreciate the gesture. Of course, he gladly took control of the relays, but the boss didn't trust Redgrave, so he got rid of him as soon as he had what he wanted. Evan was accused of conspiring to overthrow the regime and arrested on the spot. The overzealous police officers, already under the influence of Heimdall's signals, beat Evan mercilessly, screaming, "This is for De Salvo." He was dead before the firing squad even arrived.
That's my way. Administrator Weinberg. And that's 100% achievements. That was the
A
last one I
low
needed.
pulsating hum droned through the city, filling the air. In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what...
Only what?
The relays quickly spread across the country, and citizens were processed into biomaterial to create clones.
Jesus.
Copies of the ideal employee, once known as Carl Stein, replaced ordinary people, first in Helmer, then throughout the country, and then, step by step, all over the world. And next, the conquest of the solar system and the stars. A perfect, effectively functioning world has no room for strife or war, hunger or injustice, love or compassion. When the work was done and everyone, even his family, had been erased from his life, Evan shared the same fate as his boss.
What?
They passed away as equals, proudly looking at the fruits of their labor and leaving behind an ideal society that worshipped their images, preserved their Bible, and forever remembered Evan as a prophet beside the divine Isaac Weinberg.
Oh, that's cool.
Death did not frighten Redgrave, because he had accepted it on his own free will, unlike the millions of people he had deprived of the choice.
Alright, that one's good. Let's give it to Eminence. What a
low
twist.
pulsating hum droned through the city, filling the air. In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's pact. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what was required. Heimnitz deceived Evan unshamedly. With the relays at his disposal, he spread them quickly throughout the country and immediately carried out his plan to destroy the population. People dutifully lined up at the euthanasia centers, and when there was no one left, the Boreans came and took everything they needed. The once great country became a desert with the frightening, empty streets of a ghost town.
I don't like ghosts, they're scary.
Evan wasn't able to see it through to the end.
Oh.
He was only able to marvel at how quickly his fate had been decided, and regretted that Heinz didn't find enough soap for his rope.
Lame.
At least he wasn't around to witness one of the largest genocides in history, and the destruction of his family along with it.
Right. What's next? We got all the administrators. Connect independent circuits. I don't know what I mean this is.
A series of terrible explosions shook the city.
Boom.
The relay towers became colossal columns of flame, falling on residents' houses and destroying the streets below.
Whoops.
Violent fires raged for several days, and when they were finally put out, the heaps of twisted iron and sad memories were all that remained of Project Heimdall.
I always remember 9/12. Actually,
Little
it
changed in the country.
June 6th, June 3rd. I always remember 6/3.
Ministers continued to fight over power. Old players were deposed by new ones, each more vain than the last. A lack of principles became a synonym for success. Ordinary citizens remained a bargaining chip in political games, small cogs in the soulless machine of total surveillance and control.
What about me?
The ruling elite had no use for Evan.
I shouldn't have asked.
After the protective dome disappeared, he was held at gunpoint and thrown out the same window his father had fallen from.
Long live.
Like father, like son, they shouted at him in a mocking farewell.
Yeah, but my father threw himself.
And only during that fall, in a state of absolute terror, did Evan truly feel free for the first time in his life, even if only for a fraction of a second.
Like, next. Isolate timeline. I don't know what this does.
Over time, the huge relay towers became a familiar part of the urban
I
landscape,
guess it disables them.
slowly turning rusty and useless. They hung gloomily over the heads of everyone below.
Darn 5G
And
towers.
though some said that the towers were only slumbering, still waiting for their master, no one ever found out what they were really built for. Little changed in the country.
Oh, yeah, we know this part.
Ministers continued to fight over power. Old players were deposed by new ones, each more vain than the last.
Yeah.
Ordinary citizens remained a bargaining chip in political games, small cogs in the soulless machine.
Oh, yeah. What about me?
Evan's sacrifice wasn't in vain. None of the ministers who so passionately wanted unlimited control over the minds of the citizens were able to have it.
Mr.
Who knows
Stark.
how much worse things could have been if Heimdall had fallen into the wrong hands.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel that.
But in the final seconds of his life, Evan still thought, could things have turned out differently? Was there ever any way for me to change something for the better?
Let's find out right now. Oh, we got like 3 left. Happiness for all. Everyone's happy. Yay.
A low pulsating hum droned through
MNGH.
the city, filling the air.
Yeah.
In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what the desire of an abstract common good embedded into the minds of citizens had unexpected consequences. As it turns out, everyone has their own idea of good, and this meant that people strived for different, often opposite things. A wave of unmotivated violence swept through the city. People attacked one another at random, sincerely believing that they were doing it for the common good. When the wave of violence subsided, leaving behind it blood-soaked streets, the few survivors, shaken to the depth of their souls by the incident, started building a better world. And they did it with such fervor that they forgot about their own basic needs. After only a month, Helmer was a ghost town where even the most desperate did not set foot. Anyone who understood what was happening and who still had free will wisely fled the city, while Evan stayed on the top floor, witnessing the consequences of his choice day after day.
So the Heimdall doesn't count for me?
Sometimes in moments of weakness, he thought that punishing himself with the monstrous sight of the massacre below was enough to atone for his sins. But soon there was no one left to whom he could repent.
Lord.
And so the thought of the shredder several floors below seemed more and more attractive to Evan every day. But what mattered was that the thought was his own.
And even more attractive was the shredder from the Ninja Turtles. I like Asians. God mode activated. I am the god.
A low pulsating hum droned through the city, filling the air.
Boring.
In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what. Is a cult of personality really such a bad thing? After all, if someone receives praise to the high heavens, doesn't that mean that they deserve it? The mindless worship of the wise leader was replaced by the blind adoration of Evan Redgrave.
Yay. I mean, no.
And if citizens had previously been able to afford to express their disapproval of the current state of affairs even in a whisper, now no one would have dared to do so. Because having one's own thoughts is an unaffordable luxury in a country covered with relay towers. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning. There are still so many places in the world where Heimdall towers are yet to rise into the skies, and so many countries yet to learn about Evan Redgrave.
Hooray.
Replacing the wise leader, is that not the pinnacle of a ministry career? The name Redgrave was respected before, but now it inspires awe.
Oh. Wait, no.
Isn't that what you wanted for your son, Father? Isn't that the greatness you dreamed of when you created Heimdall? Evan sits at the top of the world, and everything belongs to him, from the mountains and rivers to the people and their thoughts. He alone decides what his subjects can feel and want. Evan Redgrave is a god now, and what does it matter that the fate of all gods is loneliness?
He seems pretty happy to me. And you got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down. I don't know what this means. Oh wait, now I can put music on. Because this one's not copyrighted, I think.
A low pulsating hum droned through the city, filling the air, boring into every mind, and bending every single person to its mechanical will. Men and women, adults and children, rich and poor. In just a few minutes, the entire population submitted to Heimdall's power. From then on, people thought, felt, wished, and did only what was required of them. You can't force a person to be happy against their will, but what if you forcefully give them free will? What if you instill in them a single thought? From now on, you make your own decisions and take responsibility for your own actions. Could it bring about peace? The inhabitants of Helmer were the first to become truly independent. Even though their lives weren't perfect, their choices were often far from ideal, and the consequences of these choices were painful. But they had their own choices, their own happiness, and their own mercy. The ministers, all of them were executed. The monstrous and useless bureaucratic apparatus was gradually dismantled, and the ministry building was turned into a museum dedicated to senseless cruelty.
Yeah, so I guess like all the ministers were executed. That means Ferguson, George, Salvo, and Weinberg were taken out.
Evan became a full-fledged member of the new society. When asked about what happened in the last days of the great state, he would only smile and stay silent. He had no wish to recall his time spent in the ministry or the nightmares that he witnessed and took part in. Evan, until the very end of his life, he tried to erase from his memory the faces of his superiors and colleagues, wishing fervently that he could stop hearing military marches in the distance and the roar of 1,000 voices chanting, "All hail the wise leader."
Oh, and that's it. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're done with this game. Finally. Oh my god, that took me like twice as long as it should have. Okay. So, final thoughts. Yeah, I think it's just weird because I think it's a little bit long, this game, like, or it's one of those replay games. I think if you want to get like all of the endings, you're gonna have to replay them, but I think the game's too long for that kind of stuff. Because the gameplay is not that, not really, like, it's a game that you're supposed to replay, I guess, but the gameplay itself doesn't have much replay value, because it's not as fun to do the jobs or talk to people and having to micromanage. Like, it kind of sucks to do this, but I would have to compare it to Papers, Please, and Papers, Please, you could just finish it really quickly. And basically, I think Papers, Please was better at just, in general, the tone of Papers, Please is more consistent in a way, because this one is like authoritarian regime. It's kind of realistic-ish, but then you go all sci-fi, and Papers, Please just stayed the same. And also, I think Papers, Please was just about the decisions, and this one had like decisions, and you had the jobs, and you had money, and you have like a ton of stuff. But overall, I think it was a good game. Just yeah, my highest complaint would be that it's kind of set up to be like a replayable game, but it's not that much fun to replay. So yeah, And that's pretty much it. I'm done. Now I have to find something else to play. So maybe tomorrow I'll just start a whole new game. Or maybe the day after, I don't know. But that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll be seeing you guys with a different game.